What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Mile High Hockey. Mike and Will with you as always. And Mike, interesting dilemma, if you will, for the Colorado Avalanche right now. Gabriel Landeskog skated with the Eagles over the weekend. That caught a lot of attention. And there are reports out there that he has been cleared by the NHL to play with the Eagles if that's something he and the organization choose. Jared Bednar yesterday said, quote, "We'll see if he's going to play with the Eagles." They've got home games on Friday and Saturday against Vegas's minor league affiliate. Simple question. Would you let Gabe go play in the AHL?
Why wouldn't you? To me, this is the perfect scenario because no matter how much you may want to try to simulate game action in practice, you just can't. And I've always felt that I just would feel really hesitant to put a guy who hasn't played hockey in 3 years right into the pace that is the NHL playoffs. I just think it'd be asking a lot of Gabe. It also would be really a huge leap of faith, I think, by the Avalanche themselves, understanding that we're not exactly sure what role would be best for Gabe, and we just don't quite frankly know if he can handle it, if we can trust him in a series against Dallas, in all likelihood, where who knows, the slightest mistake could end up changing and pivoting the entire outcome of a series. So, short answer is yeah, because this is perfect. You get 3 games. You get to see how he looks. You get to see how he recovers after games. You get to try him out in different roles to see whether or not he can be on the power play, to see if he can kill penalties. I just think it's an automatic if you're able to do it.
See, I agree with you mostly. I think my one hesitation is the AHL's full of a bunch of guys that are either one day going to be good enough for the NHL or just frankly aren't good enough for the NHL. And do you run the risk of, there's some goons out there, let's call it what it is. Do you run the risk of him suffering a silly injury because some goon who's never going to make the leagues, been in the AHL for 5, 6, 7 years, maybe takes a run at him? And I'm not saying intentionally necessarily, but Gabe Landeskog would be the most high-profile player they have ever played against. To me, it's just a little scary of, it's still hockey. It's not baseball. We're not talking minor league baseball. We're talking a very physical sport, and I just don't know the mindset of the opponents, and that does scare me a little bit.
I get it, but I think Gabe Landeskog, his name, his reputation carries so much weight that even the opposing teams would understand that that's something you just don't do. We've seen a lot of examples over the last couple of weeks where the class of hockey players has been on display, most recently when Alexander Ovechkin broke Wayne Gretzky's record, and the Islanders stayed on the ice to congratulate Ovechkin. It was a very classy move, and so I think what you're seeing here is I think the opposing team would react that way. Plus, look, all these Eagles, they know Gabe, and they understand who Gabe is. Let's just say you would have to be willing to go down into the depths of hell to take a shot at Gabe, because you got to understand what's going to be waiting for you from his teammates if you took one of those runs. You might not make it off the ice.
Right.
So, and I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. So I think that a combination of those two things would ease my fears about what he'd be facing in the AHL.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Let's stick on Gabe before we get to Avalanche injuries. And that was the viral clip last night from the docuseries where it was the home opener and Gabe Landeskog was introduced. Mike, I was in the building that night. We talked about it on this very podcast. He got the loudest ovation, more than Nathan McKinnon, more than Cale Makar, Alan Roach, big booming voice, and Ball Arena went nuts. What we didn't know was that Gabe Landeskog couldn't really handle that because he was so emotional. And I would encourage people to go watch this clip. It's on our website, denversports.com. He wasn't on the verge of tears. He was tears. He cried. And he cried hard, sort of in the tunnels, the bowels of the arena, if you will. And he said, I just don't know if I'm ever going to get through this, and I don't want to let people down. Very emotional, but interesting to hear him say also, Ball Arena is where I've always been so comfortable. Yep. And right now, I don't want to be anywhere but here. Got me a little choked up watching it, Mike. That was an unbelievable behind-the-scenes access type clip.
It was, and if you've been watching this entire docuseries, A Clean Sheet, it's been so evident to me that, man, this is a guy who just clearly is wired differently, because there'd be so many athletes who would be like, hey, look, I've won a Stanley Cup. I've got 4 more years at $7.5 million coming my way. I've got a beautiful family. Hey, maybe it's just, the hockey gods are telling me that this just isn't meant to be. I've made the commitment. I've tried to come back. I gave it a good effort for a year, even 2. But hey, maybe I ought to back out. This guy is consumed, Will. He's consumed with coming back. And so I don't put it past him. I think I do agree with Eric Johnson. It's a matter of when, not if. It's just a matter of whether or not it's in these playoffs or it's next season. But this guy, we've seen and heard plenty of stories of athletes that have incredible will. But boy, I mean, you got to put Gabe Landeskog right up in the top level.
Yeah, and there was nothing manufactured about this. No. That was a truly raw moment. Again, I was up in the press box. A lot of our viewers were in the stands, and we had no idea that this was going on. But I would encourage, again, people to go watch it. All right, let's talk about the injuries, because Jared Bednar, good news yesterday after Monday's practice. He said that the 4 hurt guys, Marty Necas, Jonathan Drouin, Samuel Girard, Josh Manson, could all play this week in the final week of the regular season, and they're all day-to-day. So basically what that tells me, Mike, is April 19th, April 20th, knock on wood, we don't have any wood right here, but if game 1 on April 19th or 20th looks like the Avalanche should be healthy with their full roster, and we'll see a couple of healthy scratches, which you and I have talked about, but especially on Drouin after he missed the first round last year, this was all very good news.
Yeah, it's not only good news because you just want all your guys healthy, but we've already started to see signs of what Jared Bednar talked about right after they made those moves about how they've created so much roster depth and roster competition that there are going to be guys who are going to find themselves healthy scratches down the stretch in the regular season or in the playoffs that are going to be like, what the heck?
Right.
And I think we've already
seen
names that fans know.
Yep.
And I think we've already seen how guys react to that, whether it be Logan O'Connor, Miles Wood, guys that have gotten back into that lineup, and you've seen the intensity and the hunger. They don't want to be benched again. So that just creates so much more competition, so much more depth, especially at the bottom part of your roster, where you have to get contributions from your 3rd and 4th line if you're going to make a deep playoff run. So I think you see the twofold benefit of having everybody healthy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And if you had Landeskog in the mix, that will be one more name that someone's getting scratched. It could be 3 household names that are healthy scratches for round 1, game 1. Speaking of round 1, game 1, the Blues lost to the Jets last night, so that did 2 things. 1, it made the Jets get further ahead of Dallas, and 2, the Avs are going to hold off St. Louis, even though they've been ridiculously hot down the stretch. So, Mike, it's going to happen. It's what we've been telling our listeners and viewers for a month now. Avs and Stars, round 1, game 1, round 1 series, just looking more likely than ever.
I mean, just an embarrassment of riches in the first round. You and I have already talked about this. It's not the best thing for the NHL that 2 of the top, 4 teams when it comes to Stanley Cup odds to win it all are playing in the first round. It seems like a colossal waste to me. But, hey, them's the rules. We knew about it going into the season. We knew there was a very real possibility that this could happen. So now that it's happening, here we go. And, I mean, does that have a 7-game
thriller
overtime written all over it,
it
type
does.
scenario between these 2 teams? I mean, if it, this is the time where you say, hey, sign me up for that.
Right.
Sign me up for 7 games of that. Okay, sign me up. I just wish it wasn't the first round.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, obviously, and we've been on the same page. But I do think there's something about ripping the Band-Aid off. And if you just rip it off and you get past Dallas, which I know is a big if, then all of a sudden, clear the calendar for late June. You never know where this thing could go.
Right.
Avs and Knights tonight at Ball Arena. I do think that tonight, I know it's national TV, people are excited, the Avs are finally back home, but I'm not so sure we're going to see a ton tonight. Both teams pretty locked into where they are in the standings, and heck, this could be a Western Conference final preview. I would think conservative game plans from each squad.
Yeah, and Jared Bednar talked about this yesterday. He was asked about the challenge of getting through this final week of the regular season. He said we have to guard against slow starts. We're getting off to slow starts. Once the game unfolds, once it gets going, our guys' competitive juices kick in. But we're getting off to these slow starts, which I think is a byproduct of what are we really playing for. So that's just something to watch for over these final few games. But I'm with you. I think both teams, Vegas included, are going to look at this as kind of like, yeah, we're going to compete, but these players understand what's at stake, or in this case, what's not at stake. So I think you may see, let's just say you may see more business decisions made out there.
I like
it. It's almost like, okay, that puck's in the corner. Do I really want to go into that corner and risk the potential of getting smoked? Or do I want to save that for next week?
Probably for the playoffs.
Exactly.
I think for the playoffs.
Exactly.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on it.
Before we go any further,
yeah,
Maddie, can we get a close up? Look at the guts to wear the shorts. Look at those sticks.
Yeah,
look at those legs. Look at those gams.
They're looking pretty white.
I mean, those things.
They're looking pretty white.
I need to wear my sunglasses at night. I mean, look at those things. But
I've done this podcast in shorts before, but it is the long winter legs that I'm displaying.
Gutsy play there by my guy Will.
All right.
Clearly, no fear.
I'm going to be wearing jeans on Thursday. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Speaking of Thursday.
Let's get these things viral. Let's get them going viral.
No. Speaking of Thursday, we'll be back then.
Is that a blush? Is he
Another
blushing?
edition.
Is he blushing?
No, I just stay white. That's my skin tone, Mike. We'll be back Thursday for another edition of Mile High Hockey. All things Gabe and all things playoffs coming up.